Revenge is a dangerous game. What starts as a single insult, a betrayal, or a slight can spiral into a chain of events with deadly consequences. This is the story of two people bound by history, by grudges that refused to die, and a feud that ended in murder. A game of patience, anger, and cold calculation. No one was safe, and the price would be paid in blood. Before we unravel this deadly game, subscribe to CrimeCortex for the most chilling stories told with deep insight and care. Because sometimes, the truth is darker than fiction. This story begins with two people whose lives were intertwined long before the fatal confrontation. First, there's David Lawson, a man known for his charm and ambition. Raised in a working-class neighborhood, David fought hard to build a successful construction business. He was a devoted husband and father, but his temper was known to flare when pushed. Friends described him as passionate, loyal, but with a dark streak that few dared to cross. Then there's Marcus Reed, David's childhood friend turned bitter rival. Marcus took a different path, choosing a quieter life as a mechanic. Yet beneath his calm exterior lay deep resentment. Years of perceived slights and broken promises had fueled a growing grudge against David, a grudge that festered like poison. Their friendship fractured over business disputes, personal betrayals, and words that cut deeper than knives. Neighbors recall hearing heated arguments, tense confrontations, and a growing divide that neither was willing to bridge. As the community watched from a distance, no one expected the simmering conflict to explode into violence. But as we'll see, the deadly game of revenge had already begun. The feud didn't start overnight. It was born from a single, fateful incident that shattered years of friendship and trust. David and Marcus had once dreamed of building a business empire together. But ambition soon gave way to suspicion. It began with a missed payment on a shared contract, an error that spiraled into accusations of betrayal and greed. David accused Marcus of sabotage. Marcus accused David of deceit. Words were exchanged, harsh, unforgiving words that echoed through the neighborhood. But it wasn't just business. The real fracture came when personal boundaries were crossed, family secrets exposed, old wounds reopened. Their once unbreakable bond became a battlefield of grudges. Friends and family pleaded for peace, but both men were blinded by anger and pride. The spark had ignited a fire neither could control. And as grudges grew, so did the stakes. No one could have predicted how deadly this game of revenge would become. What began as angry words soon morphed into a dangerous game of one-upmanship. David and Marcus moved from verbal attacks to actions, each trying to outdo the other in a battle for dominance. Neighbors reported broken windows, slashed tires, and anonymous threats left on doorsteps. Social media became a battleground too, with heated posts and cryptic messages hinting at unresolved rage. The two men engaged in a psychological war, sending spies to gatherings, leaking secrets to mutual acquaintances, and manipulating allies to gain advantage. Psychologists say this kind of escalation is common in revenge cases. Small provocations trigger larger reactions, creating a feedback loop of hatred and retaliation. As the weeks turned into months, both men grew more reckless, their actions increasingly brazen and dangerous. Family members pleaded for calm, but neither was willing to back down. And then, the deadly moment arrived. A confrontation that would change everything forever. The night was heavy with tension. What started as a routine meeting to clear the air, quickly spiraled into chaos. David and Marcus faced off, words exchanged like weapons, old wounds ripped open. Neighbors reported hearing shouting, crashing furniture, and a sudden, chilling silence. In the shadows, a fatal blow was struck. The forensic report later revealed blunt force trauma, the kind inflicted in moments of rage and desperation. David fell where he stood, his life extinguished in the heat of the deadly game he'd helped ignite. The crime scene was grim, a house once filled with laughter now silent, stained with betrayal. As dawn broke, the community awoke to the devastating news. A grudge had become murder. From the moment the body was discovered, the investigation moved swiftly but carefully. Law enforcement sealed the scene, collecting evidence under the watchful eyes of forensic experts. Interviews with neighbors painted a picture of escalating tension, but no one had expected this outcome. Detectives turned their attention to Marcus Reed, who was found at the scene, bloodied and disoriented. His initial statements were inconsistent, some claiming self-defense, others silence. Digital forensics played a key role, tracking phone locations, analyzing messages between the two men, and piecing together a timeline. AI-driven behavioral analysis helped investigators understand the escalation and psychological triggers that led to the fatal confrontation. Despite the overwhelming evidence, some questions remained. Was this a crime of passion or premeditation? Was Marcus the sole perpetrator, or was there more beneath the surface? The investigation was only beginning. Marcus Reed's arrest was a somber moment. Taken into custody without resistance, he was quiet, his face etched with a mix of remorse and resignation. During hours of intense questioning, the layers of his story slowly peeled away. He admitted to the confrontation but maintained it wasn't premeditated. His confession painted a picture of a man overwhelmed by years of pain, betrayal, and anger. He described the deadly moment as a tragic culmination of a game neither wanted to end, but both couldn't stop playing. Psychologists later analyzed his statements, noting the signs of escalating rage and the dangers of unresolved grudges left to fester. Marcus's confession wasn't just an admission of guilt, it was a window into the human cost of revenge. The courtroom was filled with tension and anticipation as Marcus Reed stood trial. Prosecutors painted a vivid picture of the deadly feud, presenting evidence of escalating threats, psychological warfare, and the fatal confrontation. Witnesses recounted the history of animosity, the moments leading up to the murder, and the community's shock. Marcus's defense sought to argue for manslaughter, claiming the killing was in the heat of passion, not premeditated murder. Expert testimonies delved into the psychological effects of revenge and the dangers of prolonged conflict. After days of emotional testimony, the jury deliberated. When the verdict was announced, guilty of second-degree murder, reactions were mixed. For some, justice was served. For others, the tragedy was a painful reminder of how revenge consumes everyone it touches. Marcus was sentenced to a lengthy prison term, a solemn end to a deadly game. The aftermath of Marcus Reed's conviction rippled through the community. Families on both sides struggled to come to terms with the loss and the shattered relationships. Counselors and community leaders worked to help heal wounds left by years of conflict. For some, the trial was a necessary step toward closure. For others, the pain lingered, a reminder that revenge leaves no true winners. Experts reflected on the case as a powerful lesson about the dangers of letting grudges fester unchecked. The psychological toll of unresolved anger and bitterness can escalate beyond reason, sometimes with fatal consequences. Community programs were launched, focusing on conflict resolution and mental health support to prevent future tragedies. Marcus's story serves as a stark warning. Revenge may feel like justice, but in the end, it destroys everyone involved. The deadly game of revenge is a story as old as time. A cycle fueled by pride, anger, and a refusal to forgive. In the case of David and Marcus, it wasn't just a grudge, it was a tragedy waiting to happen. Their story reminds us all. When we let anger fester, when we refuse to seek peace, the cost can be catastrophic. If this story moved you, or if you've seen similar conflicts escalate in your own life or community, share your thoughts below. What do you think could have stopped this deadly game? Subscribe to CrimeCortex for more true crime stories that dive deep into the human psyche and the consequences of our darkest choices. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay cautious, and always, choose peace over revenge.